feeling when you're trying to say something and the other person misinterprets you? Or worse, if the person quotes you, but instead of using your words in the way that you used it, in the context that you used it, the person actually twisted your words and even uses it against you. How bad is that? Now that's very frustrating. And in a sense, we can be guilty of doing that whenever we use words from the Bible or words from Scripture and actually use it differently. And I'm talking about faith. Welcome to day 4, our last of our exploration of the book of James. As we reflect, since we mentioned the other day that faith and works go hand in hand, we'd like to take our time today in observing what faith really is, and especially how James tries to enlighten us on the meaning of faith. And instead of just explaining what faith is, James, since it is a practical book, since it is a book of wisdom, tries to give warning on what faith shouldn't be. In James chapter 2, verse 22, it says there that faith has to be completed with works. Now, this supports the previously mentioned idea or truth that faith and works go hand in hand. They go together. It says here, faith has to be completed by works. So your faith, if you say that you have faith, but there are no works accompanying it, then it's not complete. And you know what? A lot of times, people use the word faith casually without even know what they're talking about. And they say faith even though they don't accompany it with their actions. They just put everything to faith, but they don't do what is necessary to prove that they really have that faith. James chapter 3, verse 1, it says there, "Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness." It tells us that faith has a great responsibility. We can't just use the word faith casually, saying that we have faith, let's have faith, without understanding that it has a great responsibility. You can't just say that you believe in God. You can't just say that you believe in Jesus, and yet you're not doing your responsibility. I know lots of people who say that, I follow Jesus. Okay, so what are you doing actually to follow Jesus? I believe in Him. I go to church. I listen. Okay, so what else? Do you do other things to follow His commands? They're not doing what is necessary. They're not doing their responsibility. They're not even aware that they have responsibility. For them, they're already contented that they are saying, "Oh, thank goodness, I'm saved. I'm saved by Jesus now." Okay, so what do? Nothing. I'll just sit here. I'll just relax. I'll enjoy. No, that's not it. Faith has a great responsibility. Whenever you speak with other people about your faith, then you are fulfilling that responsibility. And when you speak, when you share, you have to be very careful because there's a greater and stricter responsibility that is expected of you. James chapter 4 warns about this. "Whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God." Tells us that faith in God means turning from the world. Now, we mentioned yesterday that faith and works are not two different things. They are different sides of a coin. Now, this time, we just have to choose. Do you choose God or do you choose the world? Because followers of God, followers of Christ, are not people not of this world. They are not concerned about the things of this world. They are concerned about the things of God. The things of God are not the things of this world. And of the things of this world are not the things of God. That's why we have to be careful. We're not supposed to be so invested to the world that we just enjoy it completely, and we think that even as we enjoy the things of this world, we're still being godly. That may not be the case. Because if you look at it, the things of this world really tempts you away from God, pulls you away from God. It offers wisdom apart from God. So that's why James gives this warning that you can't be a friend of the world and still expect to be a friend of God. You just have to choose. Be a friend of God like Abraham, or be a friend of the world. In James chapter 4, verse 15, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. We have to take consideration of God's will before our own. Yes, maybe we plan to do this, maybe we'd like to do that, but is it the Lord's will? So when we speak about our plans, we have to bring forward first, we shall do this if the Lord wills it. We shall be like this if the Lord wills it. We must put God's will above ours. And that's what faith is. Faith is not asking God to bless our plans. Lord, bless our plans. Lord, bless our actions. Lord, I want to do this. Lord, I pray that you allow me to do this. Lord, I want to go out, but you're not allowed to go out because your parents are not allowing you. You want to go out, but it's not allowed because it's pandemic. The government does not allow you. Now, you can't just pray, Lord, allow me to go out, please. But you know that the government and the authorities above you restricts you from going out. So, is it the Lord's will for you to disobey the authorities? Of course not. And whenever we speak of plans and actions, we have to put God's will above our own. So those things, those are good warnings. Those are important warnings which clarifies what faith really is. That leads us to our principle for today. The principle is this: real faith works for and considers God above everything else. Let me repeat that slowly. Real faith works for and considers God above everything else. Is your faith shown in your works? Because it says that faith has to be completed through works. Is our faith manifested in our works, in our actions, in our behaviors? If we will not tell people about our faith, will they know what our faith is? Will they know what we believe based on our actions, based on our behaviors? If we will be lined up with the people of this world, will we stick out as someone different? If we have faith in God, are we set apart for God? Is it obvious that we are of God and not of this world? See, all these things, these clarifications about faith, it's important that we understand it, because if we don't want people to misunderstand us, we cannot misunderstand God as well. We cannot misunderstand His will. We cannot misunderstand what faith in God really is. We can't just say that we are friends with God when in fact we do not even understand it. And what better way to understand God than to understand His Word, than to understand Scripture?